Welcome back to Alien Isolation. I hope you enjoyed the previous episode. In this particular episode, we are going to fulfill some of the objectives that we've been given. We are going to explore the ship, and currently we're on the Torrens. We're also going to meet the characters, or the crew members on board this ship, and we're going to see if our speculations that we made about their characters, based on their personal effects, which is what we did in the previous episode, we're going to see if they're accurate. Towards the middle and end of the episode, we're going to talk about storytelling elements, such as the call to adventure and the catalyst. Just now, I'll quickly go over what we talked about in the previous episode. We tried to make speculations based on the characters, based on the, like I say, their personal effects and so on and so forth. So Verlaine was the mirroring type, the family oriented. Is that a word? Doesn't matter. The one that it kind of embodies what it means to be a human. She has a soul. Taylor was the one that we speculated to be a female character. She had the messy area. She had the sumo, which suggests maybe the wee sumo figurine, which suggests that perhaps she wants others to see her as a strong, courageous person, but maybe inside she doesn't feel like that. We then had Connor. Connor was the one with the two magazines, the Fast Spacecraft and the Loose Woman, and we said he was set in his ways, he was content with his lifestyle, not looking to change himself and go on this particular journey. We had Samuels. Samuels was the one with the calculator and the pen. We said he was organised and analytical. And we had ourselves. And we had the station that was sterile and empty and blank. And we said that perhaps represents synthetic life, and denotes, that synthetic life can't experience can't experience the human experience is what I was going to say, but yeah, I think you know what I mean. Anyway, so we're in the kind of living quarters or sleeping quarters, and in here you'll get the opportunity to make your first save file, and you only get one save slot, I believe, and you do it at these stations, emergency stations, and you only get one slot, and I think you're either time barred or you can't resave until you've completed an objective or done something important. Okay, so you've seen that we logged into a terminal a moment ago, and once we've saved, the terminal will now have some information that we can look at. And these terminals have multiple purposes. In this case, they're trying to create some background story, and if you read those 3 paragraphs, you'll see that it's kind of setting the universe up in a particular way. It's kind of suggesting it's every man for himself. It's a predatory kind of universe. It's it's kind of the form of government, perhaps it's suggesting, is a corporatocracy. Where large corporations set agendas and create laws and whatnot. And it also suggests as well that there's been a loss of prosperity on Sevastopol station, but we'll talk about that later. Okay, so just now we're going to get dressed because that's what we've been instructed to do. One thing to note on that screen, which we'll look at in a moment, is you'll see that all the kind of Taylor, Connor, Verlaine, ourselves, we all have kind of normal, I take it as physiological readings. The only one that's strange is Samuels, and we'll talk about that later because that's interesting to me. Samuels is the one in the middle, 001 Weyland-Yutani. So you can see the 3 Weyland-Yutani employees, Samuels, Taylor and Ripley. Verlaine and Connor obviously own this ship, or Verlaine owns the ship and Connor pilots it. There's lots of interaction in this game, in terms of interaction with the environment. You could see that with the shower a moment ago, and that's something that becomes, a key element of the game and the gameplay. But we'll talk about that soon later on in the episode. Just now we're going to go and speak to Taylor. she is in the mess hall, I believe, and then we'll speak to Samuels. So you're going to be using your map quite a lot in this game, and it has a lot of useful information and instruction, and yeah, it's something that you'll come back to again and again. So here's Taylor. It was a female.
Ripley, it's certainly not good. I very much doubt it's morning either. Sorry. I feel like death. I don't know how you people put up with hypersleep regularly.
You get used to it.
I don't do long haul very often. Most legal execs don't travel further than...
This is important dialogue.
I'm surprised Weyland-Yutani felt the need to send legal at all.
The loss of the Nostromo and its cargo cost the company a lot of money. It's important we find out what happened. If I can close the case with a conclusive accident report, it'll look great with my superiors. I'm sorry. That was insensitive.
So we're seeing her two sides there. The one that wants to prove herself, and now she's, you know, being considerate and sensitive.
It's okay. We'll both get what we want, right?
And you can hear Amanda Ripley's confidence and self-belief.
He's probably been up for hours.
I'll catch up with
And again, we're getting some feedback there that Samuels is the kind of character we described him as. You know, she says he's probably been up for hours, he's probably been, you know, taking care of things. But it's interesting that Ripley expressed surprise that Weyland-Yutani would send a legal officer on this mission. And but you know, if we made the correct assumptions about Taylor's personality, then you know it's likely that she insisted on joining this mission to prove to others and to prove to herself that she's got what it takes to do things like this. You get some wee interesting touches in this in here. You know, you can see that they're binging on energy drinks. You're seeing the cans of energy drinks and, you know, convenience food that's wrapped up in gold wrappers. Things like cornflakes, bran flakes, the kind of more healthy options don't seem to be quite as, you know, the supplies don't seem as filled up as you would expect. You've got biscuits lying out as well. So here we've got the inverted horseshoe, and I think that's to, you know, it's a good luck omen. And you see that it's placed throughout the ship, probably by Verlaine. There was also a terminal there that gave you some good information, so if you're playing this game, or you've not played the game and you're going to play it after watching these kind of videos, check out that terminal. So here we're going to meet Samuels, and he's in the medical bay, and it's like a carbon copy of the medical bay in Alien.
Samuels, did you wake up early?
Well, I don't really need as much sleep.
So he's got a lot of interesting dialogue, don't need as much sleep.
Respecting the Torrens facilities, a well-maintained ship. I realise it's a very similar model to...
The Nostromo.
Yes, M-class. A later pattern, but close in spec.
I've worked engineering jobs on ships like this.
Of course. Is Taylor...
Now it's interesting what he says about Taylor.
Hypersleep may have been punishing for her.
We talked. She seems...
She is nervous.
I hadn't noticed.
He hadn't noticed that she was nervous. You know, that's...
Should help us with any legal issues we might encounter.
It's just, you know, it's just strange that, you know, he didn't make that... You know, he didn't observe her to be, you know,
Looks like
uneasy or whatever. But he does seem like the organised and analytical character that we'd said he was. It's good to know that post-it notes are still used in the future. And here this reminds me of Noomi Rapace, the actress that played the main female scientist in Prometheus. It reminds me of that scene. And this is apparently some kind of scanner, CT scanner, computerized topography.
The Torrens is in very good order for an old M-class captain.
She was a wreck when I bought her. Took a few years and a lot of contracts to refit. She pays for herself now.
You said we're approaching Sevastopol station. Are we docking?
I believe your contact is Marshal Waits, is that right? I'll hail Sevastopol and arrange boarding.
So first mention of Marshal Waits,
Don't worry.
and he was Samuel's
In and out.
contact.
Connor, how we doing?
I think it was Samuel's contact, or Taylor, one of them.
Prep comm so I can say hello.
Channel open, Captain.
Does everyone have their briefing documents?
You can watch the approach on the monitor.
So you can see again this, you know, he's very fastidious when it comes to procedure and protocol, as Samuels. But I thought it was interesting that he didn't detect Taylor's uneasy disposition. Is he simply stoic and pragmatic, or does it suggest that there's maybe something stranger going on with Samuels? That he's perhaps synthetic life form of some kind?
Switch to monitors. Sevastopol station. Is that damage?
Looks like damage.
Punch up 74, tight angle.
So
Looks like the dry dock bay is screwed.
we're coming up to what's known as a catalyst,
Torrens into that.
and the catalyst sets story elements in motion through action or specific types of dialogue.
Tawny Bond, you're holding the Nostromo flight recorder unit. We request immediate permission to transfer the passengers port side over. Hello, Marshall? Marshall, this is the Torrens. Say again?
So clearly there's something strange going on at Sevastopol station. Everything's not as it seems.
Comms seem pretty screwed up.
Um,
I fitted Samuel's suit with a radio booster. I can only keep the Torrens in transit for 24
so the
hours.
stakes are raised here.
Must by then.
We've only got 24 hours to get the flight recorder and, you know, to establish what's gone wrong in Sevastopol and, you know,
Stand by.
come back to the Torrens.
This spacewalks. It's the only option, and it's perfectly safe.
You could see there Amanda Ripley's confidence and self-belief again. She just walked right into the airlock, not worried or concerned. We're seeing Taylor's unease again.
Depressurizing. Fuck. Hating this. Just shadow.
So this is a catalytic event coming up that sets the story in motion and raises the stakes basically. So we've got a EVA, extracurricular activity.
You're doing good, Taylor. Just keep moving. Taylor, Ripley, hold on. Samuels! Taylor! Respond! Anybody!
So because of this explosion, she's now became isolated from, you know, Samuels and Taylor. It's put her in a more dangerous position. But we'll see Taylor and Samuels again, and that's not a spoiler because I'm not that far into the story myself. But they wouldn't build these characters up and waste them so quickly. So we'll definitely meet them again, and they'll have changed by the time we meet them again, because they'll have undergone their own experiences and dilemmas and tensions and whatnot, just like we will. So we're now in Sevastopol station, and we're being told to find help. We need to change out of our spacesuit, and this is we've kind of crossed a threshold of sorts. I wouldn't say that this is us absolutely crossed the threshold. And when you cross the threshold, that's you going from you've left the comfort of the ordinary world behind, and you're now in this upside down, topsy turvy special world where the rules are different, and you know, you're going to have to learn quickly. There's going to be challenges. There's going to be strange characters that you're going to interact with and whatnot. I don't think we're quite there yet, but we've definitely got past the catalyst. We've met the catalytic event, and it's happened, and we're now in Sevastopol. And don't forget to always look out for these emergency save stations, and you'll be able to find them on your map as well. So there's two ways out of this entrance. Takes you into this corridor, and we are playing on PC. I'm using the Xbox 360 wireless gamepad. It's just easier for me to do that from where I sit. and we're using I've changed the field of view to 55 degrees. It was originally 47 and it was just far too confined. So that just takes us back to where we were. So we just head down this corridor and we're presented with our first challenge. We've got this, area that's on fire and we need to get to the other side. The lighting in this game is excellent, and it really does, it really creates atmosphere. So does the sound. The Foley artists and whatnot that they've hired for this game are fantastic. So we enter this iris-shaped opening, and this takes us into a conduit, into a tunnel. And we'll get our torch and things like that later on in the game. So, one thing I haven't talked about is the call to adventure, and the call to adventure already happened. The call to adventure is where the main protagonist is, presented with the opportunity of a journey, the opportunity to right a wrong, in our case it's the opportunity to solve a lifelong mystery, to discover the fate of her own mum. Something that she's not been able to do up until this point. And in something like The Matrix, for example, most people have seen The Matrix. In The Matrix, Neo's call to adventure was when he's at his computer and you get some information saying follow the white rabbit, and then he goes and meets Trinity, and Trinity tells him that the Matrix is real and that Morpheus is real, and that's that. So that's what the call to adventure is. And then Morpheus, once he's experienced the call to adventure, he can't go back. We also looked at a terminal entry from Chief explaining why the station is depopulated. It talks about decommissioning of the station, and it warns any staff that remain behind not to steal company assets. And it also sets up Marshal Waits as the kind of law on board Sevastopol station, as the authority figure, and he's not to be trifled with. So we pick up our first item here, and that's the flare. And this is be careful what you do with this, because if you place it on the ground you'll be unable to pick it back up, which in my opinion seems a bit silly. But you can craft more of them later on in the game, but this is the first one that you get access to. It's not too important if you put it on the ground or waste it here, like I did there. But I did think that you'd be able to pick them back up again, but obviously not. So we come to this baggage area, or kind of like a stock area, yeah. And we encounter graffiti on the walls here, and the graffiti has, what graffiti is good for, making statements about, political enemies or corporations, greedy corporations. In this case, it's got disparaging remarks about company assets, talking about, you always know Working Joe, and we'll talk about Working Joes later on in this episode. I think they're mentioned, and the Apollo AI, but Working Joes are basically synthetic life forms, androids. So before we head up the ladders, there's an item to pick up back here, and whenever you're in an area, make sure that you explore and kind of exhaust all the avenues that you can go down, because inevitably there will be something down there for you. It's not always the case, but usually. I was surprised you couldn't climb as well, or I've not found a way to climb over obstacles. So we'll go up these ladders, and once we climb these ladders, you'll hear some music. And dotted around the Sevastopol station is old-fashioned hi-fis, and that's one thing I like about this, the old kind of 1980s retro look to certain technology that you find on board. And I know it's enticing to hit play on these ghetto blasters, but it's not always the best idea when you've got a predatory alien lurking around. Okay, so we come into the departure lounge for Sevastopol station, and we come up to our first passcode required door, and we'll get the passcode for that shortly. It's nearby. So we've got a scale model here of Sevastopol station, and we've got a lock door here, and it's obviously the good thing is you're instructed on what to do, how to get access to doors, whether it requires a plasma torch or you need to just restore power or whatever. So that's kind of useful. So we'll go up to kind of the overseer's tower there, and we'll try and restore power to the area. Off to our right here we've got like ordnance survey maps or whatever, and you can see currently our map is kind of limited. When you pick these advanced maps up, they update your own map and fill in detail basically. So we'll have a look at that now, and yeah, you can see there it kind of gives you a blueprint, or more information about where you're going to have to go or what's coming up. So we'll come in here, and we've got this generator system. You'll find lots of these throughout Sevastopol, and you just pump the handle a few times and then hit the big red button, and you'll get power to the area. And we've got another terminal here, and this terminal has a few other options. It allows you to reroute power, and it has an audio file as well. Don't forget to save whenever you can. Whenever the opportunity presents itself, it's worthwhile doing that. This end, there you go, that's the code for the door down there, 0340, easy to remember. And this gives us some information about Apollo, AI and Working Joe. We get the name of the company, Seekson. So this audio file, presumably this is from Marshall Waits, and it gives us some information about his lackeys. It introduces them, Harris and Turner, and we'll run into them later. And Waits is obviously concerned about what's happened, the discordance on board Sevastopol station, how it's fallen apart. And these two runners, that's kind of like foreshadowing later events. And it's also kind of a warning, a quick lesson to Amanda Ripley, that she shouldn't be lingering in open spaces, and that she should don't dilly dally, make a beeline to somewhere safe basically. So we'll go down and get the items down there, but before we go into that corridor, we'll do that. So I hope this has been enjoyable. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.